New body line.
They made it so that for every bar that was opened, there had to be an equal number of churches opened. Groundskeeper, we move on.
picture 很费便，你开一关，你开一关。
它应该用啥用呢？
确实。
Alright everybody, welcome to the Glacial Gardens. When I come to a complete stop, please remain seated because we will have a representative from the gardens on board us in just a moment. Right now the time is 11:45. I will see you all at the Greenhouse Cafe at 12:15, so keep an eye out for me there at 12:15. I'll start rounding everyone up and heading down to the buses.
This is it, upside down.
Okay, so welcome to my favorite portion of our property, and that is saying something because we have some real beautiful property that you're going to be able to see quite a bit of it today. So you are in fact looking at upside down trees. So those are the roots that you are seeing up in the air there. But before we get started talking about the tree and their history, I think it's important to start with the land that we're on and its history as well. So the land that you're on right now didn't always used to look this beautiful. In fact, before we owned it back in 1984, it actually looked like this. So just a little bit different. It was actually occupied by a dairy farm. Now I think a slightly odd location for a dairy farm because we do back up to that Thunder Mountain, which is a very large peak here in Juneau. And after several years of the farmers being here, they continued to have landslides and mudslides. And in the spring of 1984, they woke up one morning to half of their farm washed out onto the highway. that included structures as well as the cows themselves. So the farmer said, we've had enough, we're done, and they put the property up for sale. As you might be able to imagine, it wasn't a super desirable piece of property, and so it sat vacant for around 10 years. Then in 1994, Steve Bowe and his wife saw the land. They own a nursery at a greenhouse in town, they still do, and they thought, you know what, we'll buy a couple acres, we'll put another greenhouse on it, a more central location, expand our business, call it a day. So they bought 6 acres of land, and Steve got to work managing the property. As he was working, he realized how unique our land is. Not only do we back up to Thunder Mountain, we also border Tungnash National Forest. And so Steve knew that he wanted more land. He also knew that the main issue that the farmers had with the property was those landslides and those mudslides, and that was due to our water source. So you will definitely see it, you might be able to hear it, but we have a stream running through our property. And with all of the rain that we get, that was really what was causing those landslides and mudslides to happen. So he knew that if he wanted to resolve that issue, that the problem wasn't down in Boulder, that he lost distraction, he got distracted, lost kind of his idea of what he was doing, and he backed up and he ran into a fallen tree. And that tree's roots went into the engine chamber, causing thousands of dollars worth of damage on his rented excavator. As you can imagine, Steve was very upset, particularly at the tree. So he picked up that tree with the barely working excavator at that moment. And his intent was to smash that tree into the ground, have it go into 1,000 pieces, get his revenge on the tree. That is not what happened, however. He picked up that tree with the excavator, lifted it up into the air, and he went to go smash it into the ground, and it landed in a mud puddle. And it got perfectly upright, and that mud suctioned around it. And Steve stood back and he looked at this upside down tree with its roots dangling in the air, and they reminded him of all the hanging baskets that they sell at their garden with everything kind of waving in the air. And he thought, you know what, I can do something with that. So our upside down trees were by a beautiful accident, and Steve really ran with it. We never thought that that would be what our property became, but it quickly became the passion project. So on our property now, there were 34 trees. We got big fellas, we got some little tiny ones too. As much as you see above ground, that's how much is below ground. Inside each tree, there's anywhere from 50 to 150 different plant species. They're lined with local native mosses, and that helps to keep that moisture in there. You use fishing line and fishing netting to kind of keep everything in place. Our trees last for around 10 years. They are dead trees. I often get asked, do they start to sprout new life? They do not. They are dead trees. Their tops are into the ground there. But they last for around 10 years. After 10 years, they become a little bit too decayed, a little bit too hazardous out here. So we uproot them and we put new ones right in their place. And so that's our story behind our upside down trees. I also like to share that Steve is still with us. He's 64 years young, and he's extremely active on the property. In fact, every single plant you see planted in the ground or in the trees has only been done by Steve. So although there are many of us on the property that helped us tell the story, and I just got approved for weeding and trimming, big step in my career, none of us do any of the planting, although we are able to help with the uprooting of the plants if they need to be moved, but Steve does all the planting himself, so pretty remarkable considering we have a lot of plants on our property. From here we're going to head into our visitor center, where we'll be in there for about 10 to 15 minutes.
Beagle nest effects.
In order to make walking picks, otherwise they would be top to bottom here. Yeah, I love them.
Oh boy, they're all
And they're
coming in
pretty
now.
hardy, they're pretty easy to grow.
Deb, and I'm your driver and guide up this mountain today. Welcome to Glacial Gardens. We do ask that you keep all body parts inside this vehicle. Do not reach out and grab plants. Some of them do have thorns. We don't want anyone poked, and you don't want to take something home you don't really want. This is the slide area that Steve came in and reclaimed. He has done a tremendous amount of work here to make this place beautiful for us. Over here on my left is a plant we ask that no one touch. This is Devil's Club. It has thorns all through it, even under the leaves. Once those go in your skin, they do not come out. It takes a week to fester. Over here on the right in front of us, Steve's rock. This is the rock that caused Steve all of his problems. Gave us our beautiful towers today. All through this area, we're going to see the settling ponds he put in. They collect sediment and debris that come down through the creek because of the large amount of rain we get. Every year he has to dredge these out. He gets thousands of tons of sand and silt and gravel that would otherwise end up in the ocean. You have cameras. You should have mountain ready for your photos. Going up the hill, I cannot stop. Here on the left is an elevation marker. You are 100 feet above sea level. Coming up on the right is a flower tower shower. Coldest shower in Alaska. The water running through it is gravity fed. Steve ran a garden hose up this creek and wrapped it around the tower and poked holes in it. I only stopped because I'm a rebel. No. They just don't like us stopping because it takes something home you don't really want. This is the slide area that Steve came in and reclaimed. He has done a tremendous amount of work here to make this place beautiful for us. Over here on my left is a plant we ask that no one touch. This is Devil's Club. It has thorns all through it, even under the leaves. Once those go in your skin, they do not come out. It takes a week to fester. Over here on the right in front of us is Steve's rock. This is the rock that caused Steve all of his problems. Gave us our beautiful towers today. All through this area, we're going to see the settling ponds he put in. They collect sediment and debris that come down through the creek because of the large amount of rain we get. Every year he has to dredge these out. He gets thousands of tons of sand and silt and gravel that would otherwise end up in the ocean. You have cameras. You should have mountain ready for your photos. Going up the hill, I cannot stop. Here on the left is an elevation marker. You are 100 feet above sea level. Coming up on the right is a flower tower shower. Coldest shower in Alaska. The water running through it is gravity fed. Steve ran a garden hose up this creek and wrapped it around the tower and poked holes in it. On the slide area and enter into the forest. The temperature is going to drop a few degrees by the time we get up to the top. The little heart-shaped plant on the forest floor are the deer tongue lily. The big green waxy leaf is also a lily, but it's called skunk cabbage. We have no skunks, but we do have their cabbage. All the bushes you see on both sides all the way to the top are fruitberry. These are blueberry, huckleberry, elderberry, salmonberry, gray currant, and black trailing currant. 2 more flower towers on our right. Steve does all the planting and all the landscaping in this area, and he is a very busy man. In his spare time, he has come up here to the left of this old stump and carved a 5-star squirrel hotel. All these bushes are fruitberry, with the exception of the tall one with the lighter leaves. That is false azalea. It does not produce berries or flowers, but does have a bud on them, so they kind of trick nature into pollinating them. 80 and 120 plants to cover these towers. When Steve brings these plants out of the greenhouse, they have to sit for 2 to 3 weeks to acclimate to the colder weather. If he was to bring them out and plant them right away, they would perish. We're at the 200-foot elevation. Up above us to the right is a cliff. The cliff has a big chunk off the side of it, and that was caused by the waves eroding it away. This was one seashore here.
Oh.
10,000 years ago, this land was covered with 1 mile to 2 miles thick of ice, and it pressed the land down so far that after the ice melted, the land began to rise. As of today, we still gain about 1/4 inch of land every year here. We are surrounded by several glaciers. One in particular is called the Taku. The Taku Glacier puts out some pretty good windstorms in the wintertime. From 80 to 100-mile-an-hour winds blow down through this valley. A lot of the times the trees here cannot withstand the winds, and they do blow over. Over here on our right is a tree that blew down 10 years ago. It's a 300-year-old spruce tree. If you look at the root system, you'll see it's very flat and spread out. The trees here do not send down a taproot because they're on solid rock. They send their roots out to intertwine with one another to give them stability. The highest wind recorded on top of this mountain was 200 plus miles an hour. So all through the forest, we're going to see really tall, broke-off stumps due to the high winds that happened a long time ago. Like this one over here on our left. Another one up here on the right. All the trees that you see out in this forest are all about 150 years old. Should give you a pretty good idea of how long ago the winds were that knocked a lot of these trees down. This forest is 70% western hemlock and 20% Sitka spruce. Coming up on the left is a tree we call the donut tree. This tree grew up around a large boulder to give it its odd shape that it has in its trunk today. When Steve started building this road system, he dislodged the boulder, buried it in this road. Now the higher we climb this mountain, the less the vegetation is going to be on the forest floor. And that's because the canopy shades about 70% of the daylight here. Coming up through this area is a good example of the rock we have. This rock is called shale. It is a sediment rock that was once laying flat in the ocean floor. The road system that we are on, Steve built this a long time ago, and it took 4 years to build. When they first started, they had little golf carts that ran up and down this same road. As the business grew, the carts got a little bigger. He has done a tremendous amount of work on this road to get us up and around here. And we are pulling a 23% grade up the mountain. Coming around the corner up here on the right, you'll be able to see how shallow the soil is along the right cut bank, anywhere from an inch to a foot thick in places. All the logs that were used in this road system came from the slide area down below. When Steve went in and reclaimed the creek, he unburied a lot of timber. He was able to use it in the road so he didn't have to cut trees down out in the forest. If you look up to the left, you'll see the road you're riding on. It is called the Corduroy Road System, and it has been in use for thousands of years. He laid down his logs, puts down a geotech fabric, and lined it with rock. Liquor store by my wine. That way I know I didn't miss a seed. Now, I don't live here in Juneau, but I do live in Alaska, and I have for 63 years. I live on an island 80 miles west of here called Chichikov Island. It is very rural over there. A lot of us put food up for the winter because in the winters, when the planes can't fly, we don't get groceries. A couple of years ago, one of my big freezers was full of berries. I decided to empty it. It took me 2 weeks. When I got done, I had 25 cases of jelly made. I was really happy to have that freezer empty. 2 days later, my son walked in with 50 gallons of berries. Yay, more berries. They did go right in the freezer. Never turn down berries. We go around this corner, we go back onto Steve's property, and this forest is 70% western hemlock, 20% Sitka spruce. A lot of people cannot tell the difference between those trees, so I'm going to show you how by using food, because we all relate to food. Over here on our right is a very large western hemlock. If you look at the bark, you'll see it's vertical and grained, and it kind of looks like bacon strips. Yeah. You have to use your imagination a little bit. Okay. The next tree is Sitka spruce. The bark is round and flaky like potato chips. So we have bacon and potatoes. Yum. Over here on my left is where the slide came from. 1,600 feet up that valley, came swooshing down and wiped out everything clear to the highway. Between Steve and Mother Nature, they came through here and reclaimed this, and I think they did a pretty good job. Down here I'm going to show you another pond, and this one we call Heart Pond because it is shaped like a heart. And while I'm stopped, you may stand and take a picture, but please do not get off. Steve built this in the shape of a heart because he loves family and nature. Very yummy. Coming around this corner on the right is another good example of how shallow the soil is here. It's amazing these trees can grow to be as big and tall as they are on virtually no soil and solid rock, like these ones down here. Also down here I'm going to show you two very large spruce trees. One of them has a growth on the side of it. The growth is called a burl, and it will continue to grow and get very large as long as the tree is alive and growing. They make furniture out of burls, mainly tables. Over here on the left are two big spruce trees. The second tree has a growth ring around the middle of it. Everybody see that growth ring up there? That is the starting of a burl. Now back in the day when my father was a logger, he cut one of those, and it was 56 inches around. He made my mother a table, and I still have that table today. Over here, Steve has named it Angel Falls because he has 5 sons and 1 daughter, and she is his angel. Over here on the right is the path the slide took all the way down to the highway.
Yeah, over there.
Angel Falls. Cute little waterfall. That's right. In the winter. After that, he decided to plant flowers. So we are very fortunate to have the road and our facilities today. Out here on the right in the tree coming up is a marker. It is a Forest Service boundary marker telling us where our property lines are. Now I do know I get close to the edge of these corners. This machine is 25 feet long and its corners are 12. So if this makes you nervous, all you have to do is close your eyes like I do. I don't close my eyes. This is too fun to do to close your eyes. We are now at the 500-foot level. The rock is still shale. In 10,000 years, this is how high we've risen out of the ocean. We're going to make our way to the 600-foot mark. Then we're going to get off on the boardwalk and see a panoramic view of the Mendenhall Valley in downtown Juneau. All the little trees off to the right are the third growth of the western hemlock. It takes a tremendous amount of time and energy for the little trees to grow to be as big and tall as they are up here. Also up here, our rock changes. Our rock is now called basalt. It is volcanic and very hard. Steve chiseled with the hoe to get us up and around here. The rock wall used to be down by that stump, so you can see how much material he's moved to get us through here. Now over here on the right, a few years ago we had a bunch of trees blow down. Steve comes up every year and plants these pretty flowers to make this a very beautiful rock garden up here. And he gave us the whole new meaning to rock garden. As we make our way out to the boardwalk, we are going to pass a little green shanty, and that is our 580-foot mark. When you get out on the boardwalk and you look to the right, you will see the Mendenhall Valley that used to be a dairy farm down there in the 1800s. To the right in front of us is the Juneau Airport. To the left of that is the Juneau Wetland. And all the way to the left is downtown Juneau where the ships come in. To date, there's over 200 plants on this one, and I am going to stop on this other side.
Man, that's unreal.
It takes Steve 12 hours to plant all the flowers that go on that. My favorite because it is so large down low and out in the middle of nowhere. Douglas Island. Brother Bill is going to put his footstools down on the right side of us. Please depart off the right of the vehicle. Take that right path out to the boardwalk and enjoy your viewing.
Oh, glaciers over there. You can still see it. 哦，不是不是。哦 ，eagle， 快看。哦，机场挺大的嘛。
I thought the capital of
We came up so everybody can breathe a sigh of relief. It's a one-way road. Back in the day when they ran the golf carts up and down there, they could pass each other because they're small. The trams are too big to be passing each other. When we go by the building over here, you will see one of the golf carts. We still run these golf carts today, but they don't go back down that way either.
500.
When Steve got these trams, he realized he could not get us back down the way we came up. So he went to the Forest Service and they made a deal. He was allowed to build this road through the Tongass. It took him 2 years to build this road. We are in the Tongass National Forest. It is 16.9 million acres in size, and it's roughly the size of West Virginia. It is a very large forest, second largest in the world next to the Amazon, which is tropical. The Tongass is a temperate rainforest, which means cold and wet. We get 4 seasons here. We get rain, rainier, rainiest, and winter. And not necessarily in that order. Now, granite is not an indigenous rock to this particular area. We do have granite boulders that were brought to us by the glaciers when they melted 10,000 years ago, like this one on my left. And these boulders came to us through Canada. So if there's anyone from Canada been missing your rocks, we found them. Also out through this part of the forest, we're going to see a lot of trees on the ground. This is how Mother Nature builds dirt. It takes her a while, but she will eventually get this job done. Down here on the right in this stream and up in the left, you'll see the skunk cabbage again. It is not edible by humans, but the bears here eat it. In the fall, when the bears get ready to go into hibernation, they eat moss and dirt and other things to plug up their systems. They do not defecate or urinate while they're in hibernation, and they sleep for 5 to 6 months. When they wake up in the spring, they're very hungry and very bloated. They go to the skunk cabbage, they dig up the root and eat it. It is fibrous and it has natural laxatives in it. We all know what that does for us. And now they're happy bears. Out down through here. Look like they could just get up and walk off if they wanted to, because they have really nice legs. Like this one out here on my left has a really nice set of legs on it. Down here on the corner is how those trees get those nice legs, by growing on top of an old stump like that. When that rots away, that's going to look really cool. When I come around this corner on the right, everyone's going to be looking up there to those trees. Some of the branches in those trees are pretty gnarly looking. Some of those branches look like big hands and arms. That was caused by a parasite called the dwarf mistletoe. The dwarf mistletoe is related to the mistletoe that you kiss under at Christmas, but I wouldn't recommend kissing under this one. They also call those limbs widowmakers. When the dwarf mistletoe attacks these trees, it'll make the tree think that it is dying. It'll send all of its nutrients to that one spot. It will grow and grow. After about 5 years, it will mature, burst, send out its seed to affect another tree. It will eventually kill all these trees. Nothing we can do for that. The reason why they call them widowmakers, back in the day when the loggers logged, the unsuspecting timber faller wouldn't notice a 200-300 pound limb above his head quietly break off, come down and whack him. Now you're a widow. The little maple-shaped leaves on our right that are growing on those logs are the black trailing currant. Then we have some devil's clubs on both sides. And we have the elderberry bushes. The elderberries, when those are ripe, are a big cluster of bright red berries. We can pick these, make jams, jellies, and wine, but the seeds are poisonous. So you have to cook the berries with moss in this area. And after the moss take over, other vegetation will also. We call that a nursery log, like this one on my left. It has a lot going on, and it even has that tree growing out of it. Also down through here, we're going to see more devil's club and more skunk cabbage. They do like a lot of water. The Devil's Club is a medicinal plant. It's part of the ginseng family, the only one we have here in Alaska. The local natives harvest it in the spring and fall. They make tea, balms, and ointments. The tea is good for common colds and flus. The balms and ointments are good for arthritis and everyday aches and pains. The products work very well, and I drink the tea all the time, and it does have a unique flavor. A friend asked what it tastes like, and I said it tastes earthy. She said, what does that mean? And I said it tastes like dirt. It's a good dirt. The fastest growing plant here are the skunk cabbage. By the end of summer, they're 4 to 5 feet tall, 2 to 3 feet wide, still not edible. But we can use the leaf. Say you're out camping and you want to cook fish. Take the leaf, roll your fish up in it, poke it down in your coals, and it will steam your fish. And no, it won't taste like skunk when you're done. We have lots of ferns here: sword fern, bracken fern, lady fern, and fiddlehead. I personally have never tried fiddleheads. My friend said they tasted earthy, so I said I'd just drink the tea. We get a lot of mushrooms that grow through the summer here. Edible and non-edible, if you know your mushrooms. One of our non-edibles are the amanita muscara. The little white flakes on those are strychnine, and the squirrels here eat those mushrooms. And it is pretty comical to see squirrels messed up on mushrooms. They do get right down funky. Another of my favorite spots is down through this area because of all the berries. A couple of years ago, this place was just loaded with berries. We had red huckleberries on the right, blueberries on the left. Steve told me I could pick berries, and then he told me I had to save some for our guests to see. I left 6 berries right there. That was some berries. I love picking berries. Red huckleberries are my favorite. Down here we have a berry called the salmon berry. It's a July berry, so we're just about done for the season. Here on the left are some of their bushes. Down here on the left and right are more salmonberry bushes. They get about as big as my thumb. They turn red and orange. They look like a cluster of salmon eggs. That's how they get their name. And they taste kind of like a raspberry. Super delicious. We are once again down to the visitor center. And I would like to thank you for choosing Glacial Gardens in Alaska for your visit. I do hope you enjoyed my tour. Inside the building are facilities. There's also a coffee shop if you want something hot, cold, or a snack. They have a visitor book we like people to sign. And they have the live feed of the eagle in the nest with 1 baby in it this year. And this young lady down here on the corner is going to put our stools down on the left. Please depart off the left of the vehicle. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you once again for your visit.